Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Evening With. But tonight we have an evening with Andy Morrell.
Andy Morrell.
Andy Morrell.
Andy Morrell.
Andy Morrell.
It's been a while since that's been sung, I'd have to say.
Oh, it's lovely to see you, Andy. You're looking really nice and tan there. You must be out on the pitches at night doing your coaching and stuff. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. I've got my own coaching company, so I've been out one-to-ones, two-to-one, small group stuff. So, weather's been all right in the Midlands the last couple of weeks, hence the red face. So, apologies for that.
So what ages do you coach?
Anything really, from under sevens right the way through to professionals. I try and keep it really small groups and just like eight players to a coach when I do groups, and then obviously one-to-ones and two-to-ones being really specific in their positions and what they want out of the sessions and what their strengths and weaknesses are and what we need to work on. So it's going all right. I started it when I just started at Hensford about a year or so ago. And it's just gone from strength to strength. Hensford didn't last that long, but the coaching's going all right.
All right. Yeah, I know Hensford quite well. I was match secretary at Chasetown for a while. We had a big rivalry with Hensford.
Absolutely, yeah. Less said about that, the better.
Born the 28th of September 1974. 5'11".
Oh, he's Donny.
And he was born in Donny, yes.
I like Donny.
Yeah, we do like Donny. It says you started 1997-98 with Newcastle Blue Star, but it doesn't say any appearances or goals on your wiki. So we're not sure if you actually played for them or were you just...
Oh, that was Northern League then. I was at university up in Newcastle and I joined them. I used to play for Gosforth Bohemians and the manager went to Newcastle Blue Star and I went with him. And I was top goal scorer in the league that year, hence the trial at Wrexham off the back of it.
Oh, excellent.
After that, you signed for Wrexham. Obviously, you made 109 appearances, scoring 40 goals. We'll get back to that in a minute. You also played for Coventry from 2003 to 2006, making 98 appearances, scoring 17 goals. They then signed for Blackpool, of course, in 2006 to 2008. You made 78 appearances, scoring 21 goals. 2008 to 2010, you played for Bury, making 73 appearances with 18 goals. You then re-signed for Wrexham, I think, as a player manager then. We'll talk about that as well. 2010 to 2014, you made 113 appearances, scoring 25 goals. 2014 to 2018, you were Tamworth, 28 appearances, 4 goals. And in 2018, Redditch United, 1 appearance, 1 goal. And the teams you've managed are Wrexham, Tamworth, and Hednesford Town. Does that sound about right?
That's about right. Yeah, Redditch has been missed off normally, so somebody's updated this because I was. They had me down as 44 as well on here, which I'm sure it gave me another couple of years playing. Like, but so unfortunately, somebody's updated it now, so I'm now 46. So I'm right. Yeah.
Our first question really is about Lee Trundle, playing with Lee Trundle. Obviously had a great partnership with him. Obviously we'll come back to other things with Lee Trundle, but any memories of playing with Lee Trundle? And
you were amazing. You were both on fire, weren't you, when you were at Wrexham there? So
that's right.
What was that like and how did that happen?
Well, he was late to the game like me. I was obviously at uni and then came into the game late, and he was exactly the same, playing non-league, and nobody really took a chance on him. And then we ended up playing. Wrexham played Rill in a game to have a look at Lee, and he scored a hat-trick and was unbelievable. And hence they signed him the next night. And we just sort of clicked a little bit. Again, he was the type of person that just wanted the ball all the time. He pretty much wanted a ball to himself, really, and the rest of us had to just do without. But my game was more running about and running in behind, etc. And so the partnership, it clicked quite quickly. And then, like you said, that season, it just went really, really well. It couldn't have gone any better, do you know what I mean? And I scored a shed load of goals. He scored a shed load of goals, and you end up getting promoted. But he just loved entertaining, getting the crowd on their feet, anything he could do, tricks, the lot. But, he was a decent lad and a decent player as well with it.
Yeah, he was a very, very good player, wasn't he? You then, obviously, you went to Coventry City from there. How did that come about?
Yes, 2 leagues actually. Yeah, it was. We got promoted, and I was probably 27, 28 by then, and I'm no spring chicken, and so I just thought if there's ever going to be a chance of of playing as high as I possibly could. It was off the back of being, top goal scorer in the country. And I had to wait it out. There was no real interest to start with, nothing on paper anyway. And then thankfully Coventry came in quite early in the summer, straight after the end of the season. And we got it done really quickly. It was back from where I was. Grew up in the Midlands, really. And it was back near home. And it just, Gary McAllister sold it to me. They were looking to change a lot of things there. And Coventry's like an ex-Prem, huge club, do you know what I mean? I just couldn't turn it down. The chance to go up into the Championship and have a go was just too good to be true, really.
And how did you find it there? How was it?
It was great. There was big transitions because they had big players on big wages coming down from the Premier League a couple of seasons before. And so they were trying to get them out and bring in like a new type of player that was just really hungry and wanted to do well, hence taking me out of, the lower leagues, really. It was a massive step up, from playing in Wrexham in front of a couple of thousand, 3,000 or 4,000 to go into Cov in front of 16, 17 at Highfield Road with Richard Shaw and Steve Staunton and, massive, massive names in the Premier League. It took a little bit of taking and getting used to, but it was worth a go and I couldn't turn it down,
In 06 and 07, you signed for Blackpool. You signed along with Adrian Forbes. Wes Houlihan came in on loan. Reggie Barker was there. Big Ben Burgess, which we'll talk about. So what were they like? And how did the Blackpool move come about from Coventry? How did you hear about that? And what made
I'd given it the pre-season. I gave it a real good go. I went in really fit. It was with Mickey Adams at Cov, and I thought I'd done all right pre-season. I was the fittest I'd probably ever been because I knew what his pre-seasons were like. And I'd done all right, scored a few goals, and I thought, right, I've got a little chance of being around it. And he'd sort of mentioned that I might not play that much, but I just thought I'll back myself and stay and get in his team, and prove him wrong. But then we got to the first game of the season and I wasn't in the 16. And then the second game, not in the 16. And then the third game, the same. And I just thought, I'm not going to play here. And I don't want to do that. I want to go and just play. I wasn't young there. I'm heading towards my 30s by then. I just wanted to play as much as football as I could, really, and be able to tell my kids at some point that I was actually half decent and I played a few games rather than just sat around for the money, if you like. Yeah. And so he just called me up to the office and said that Blackpool were interested. So I went up on, I think it was a Monday or a Thursday, just to have a look around. And Grayson was brilliant, showed me around, steered me well clear of the training ground, which wasn't exactly a selling point. Took me around the ground and showed me around and just told me about his plans and who he was thinking of signing and who he'd brought in. And I got on really well with Simon. And I just thought that if I'm not going to play down there, then maybe he's taking a step back and having to go at Blackpool was the right thing to do. So it was sorted out literally over a weekend. And I drove back, went to see Mrs. and said, listen, I'm moving to Blackpool on Friday. get your bags packed. So it was... that's the way football works, unfortunately. So, that's the way it happened. But, the story, when I moved to Blackpool, it didn't go great to start with, I have to say. But anyway.
No, we'll ask you about that. But obviously, did you move to Blackpool or did you travel to Blackpool?
I was in the Hilton for about 6 to 8 weeks. I moved in the August and I'd had my first little boy in the March. So, it was moving him as well. So he wasn't even 6 months. And so the wife was traveling up to games with him and we were staying in the Hilton. And it just wasn't ideal the first sort of 8 to 10 weeks while we looked for somewhere to buy. And eventually we got somewhere in Grimsby in Preston, just outside Preston. Hence a bit easier to get home back to the Midlands. From there, it was like half an hour off our journey. So we moved in there. And then sort of once that moved in, that was sort of the period when everything started to settle down a little bit for me. And I became a little bit more probably stable in the team, I suppose.
Yes.
So were they selling the promotion dream to you when you signed for Blackpool? Were you expecting to win promotion that season?
No, not overly. Was definitely wanting to go for it. But we had a bit, obviously the Latvians had come in at that time and Bellicon had come in. And so they were having a bit of a go, and the sort of the players that he spoke about Ben coming in, and obviously Reggie and Evo were there already, Michael Jackson, etc. And so I just felt that and he was talking about Klaus as well. I thought that's decent, that, you know what I mean? Right from the start, regardless of the players that were already here, you know, he'd added real quality to it. So I just thought that they had a chance, and I'd rather be having a go somewhere and give it a go. And it obviously worked out that way. But the type of player he was bringing in were, you know, I felt they were championship players, really, and definitely top level League One. Yeah,
they were. They did recruit very well, and obviously bringing you in was actually a masterstroke because you were just unbelievable. I mean, obviously the partnership. We'll get into that. I need Jane to ask this question because she asks everyone this.
I do ask her, and everybody gives a different answer as well. It was just obviously we had quite a difficult start to that season, and it was a while until things started going better. But for me, there was like something obvious that just seemed to switch at half time at Carlisle away. It's just like the first half was just like, okay, we could do better than this, and then the second half, all of a sudden we just came out. You came out and started playing like demons, and then that was it. We were just winning on the road everywhere and on the way to promotion. Do you remember anything that was said at half time at that Carlisle match?
No, but that was definitely a huge turning point. We got beat in the game, but I just think the belief sort of flooded back in that game. I come on actually in the second half quite early on, so it was probably that. But no, I think the first 10 games we weren't great. My first game we were away at Bristol Rovers, and we gave them a right battering. You know, scored 5. They were flying, and we scored 5 away, and it was a great win. And we thought, here we go. But that was the only win in the first 10, 11 games, and we really sort of struggled to just get any rhythm. Really, and I didn't score in any of these games, and it, you know, the pressure of coming from a championship team down to a League One team, the expectation that's on you, it just every time that you don't go a game without scoring, it becomes harder and harder, sort of thing. And then you're living in a hotel room and you're bouncing off the walls and you don't really know, and your head's playing ridiculous tricks with you. Do you know what I mean? It's not that easy as people think. You just come to a team and you just crack on and start smashing goals in. And then I came on in the Oldham game, and I scored coming on as a sub, and that really was the catalyst for me kicking on. But the Carlisle game, I agree, was the second half. We were really good. I come on and I missed a couple of half chances, but I just felt that the belief came back to the group a little bit, and it was like, oh no, we are half decent here. And then I think the following game we beat somebody 3-1, I think. And it just, off it went.
Jane's convinced that Larry said something like, just, you know, it was like a Churchillian speech or something all the time that you'd all remember, but you don't. She keeps digging for it.
But I have to say that I don't know if Grayson had that Churchillian speech in him, but it was. I think it was more the group of players that he had brought in. It was sort of a, come on lads, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? We're 12 games in and we're bottom 3. This ain't happening. And they just rallied, and all of them together just started heading in the right direction, the same direction. And it came out in that second half. And then again, the belief grew and confidence grew, and then off we went, sort of thing.
You touched on there about, you know, the period that you were living in a hotel, and we still have that now. And I always used to be concerned. We had a lad, Curtis Tilt, who was here quite recently, and his family were in the Midlands, and he was just living in the Blackpool Football Club hotel. And I'm just thinking that, how difficult is that? Just, you know, and do you get any support, any help? Is there any form of community or anything, or are you just literally just left in a hotel room on your own?
It's just your teammates. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm up. I'm 7 games into my career. I haven't scored. I'm thinking all sorts of things. Moving my family. It's the wrong move. I'm on the bench. I'm not playing. I'm like, I've got 2 year plus an option of a third. What have I done? What have I done? And I haven't got anybody to go to. The other players in the hotel with me are Simon Gillett, who's on loan. So he's just doing his thing and getting on with it. Ben Burgess is another one. I can't talk to him because he's actually playing in the team and I'm not. And so he's my rival, but we're the closest mates. Do you know what I mean? Because we're in the hotel together. Right. And Evo, who's playing. So only really you're bothered about yourself. And so you're thinking, and slowly it is really, really tough. And you can go and talk to the manager, but you're not going to go and talk to a manager after 7 games in and say, I'm really struggling here because I'm not playing, etc. You don't want that to be shown to a manager. And so you've just got to get through it. And family are really important then, you know, stick at it, don't worry, it'll turn, sort of thing. And And then Klaus came up, Klaus signed, and that helped a little bit because I'd had Cov with Klaus for 2 or 3 years, and we were best mates at Cov, and he really helped off the back of, I'm really struggling it, because he went through it a little bit for a patch as well. And when he come to Blackpool, he wasn't exactly playing at the start, and then he got in the team. And so we sort of, I think, looking back, we sort of helped each other out through that little period, and it ended up going really well for both of us.
Yeah, I can imagine it's really tough mentally because you don't, nobody can see the future. You wouldn't, at that time be thinking, God, I'm going to score 4 at Swansea. You just wouldn't imagine that sort of thing happening now.
That's right.
And you're kind of just hoping, aren't you, really, that, you do get your break and it just click and everything else. But
and you get, and you get an opportunity. And, my wife's at home. She's packing up boxes on a night when we've got a 4 or 5 month old baby that she's put to bed, and she's selling the house back home. I'm worrying that I've done, we're buying a new house. We're spending all this money. And it's like, one of those. But, as you said, hopefully you find a way through, and, family, like I said, and close mates, really important at that time. And you just get that little bit of slice of luck, I suppose. And I got it, and off you go, sort of thing.
Do the PFA offer any sort of, mental health support for players? If, is there a number that you can call or anything if you did need to reach out to anybody? Is that something
they do now. I would have thought there's a lot of more stuff around mental health now than there was, 15 years ago. But it was seen as a sign of weakness to be talking about stuff that I was only there 8 games. I was probably only there a month and a half, and these thoughts going through your head. It's like, chill out, mate. You got a 2.5 year contract. What you're worrying about, or whatever. But it's not that. I want to play football. I moved to play football, and I'm not doing it, and I'm not doing what I want. And this could be an absolute car crash of a move. And I didn't want that at the stage that I'd made the decision to move, because I wanted to play and win stuff and do well for myself. And it just didn't happen like that. But yeah, I suppose you just look back and just go, well, a part of my learning as well. I tried to get into the Wrexham team for 2.5 years, eventually got in and did really well, went to Cov, did okay, but I was in and out of the team right the way through. So it's just that belief and self-confidence that somebody really wants you to go there and really wants you to do well. And eventually that comes, I suppose.
Yes. Good on him. I'm glad it did as well.
Yeah, same here.
Question we have is, did you have a good relationship with Larry? Was he all right, Larry, as a manager? Did you have a good relationship with him, or was he?
Yeah, I got on all right with him. He was never bad to me. If ever I knocked on the door, he was fairly accommodating, if you like. He would see me. He did have other bits. He used to shoot off when you did go and knock his door sometimes. It's quite difficult to pin down. But Tomo was great for him, because Tomo was around the lads, and if anybody had a problem, they'd go to Tomo more, because he lived in Blackpool. He was around all the time anyway. And we'd go to him and say, and then that would obviously get through to... It was a way of us going through to the gaffer, because you knew that what he said to Tomo, he'd relay it through to the gaffer. Well, most of it. But I like Larry. He was good fun on the training ground. We had a good laugh around, especially when you're scoring, you're doing all right. He's obviously all over you when that's happening. I think like we've said before, his recruitment that season and pretty much his recruitment throughout his managerial tenure where he's been has been top draw.
It has. So actually, you've kind of confirmed what a lot of Blackpool fans think, actually, and that Tomo was such a big part of the whole thing, because he was still there, with Holloway, and he was second in charge to Holloway, and I think he probably was, a big factor in Blackpool's success.
And maybe that was what was missing when Larry came back the second time and didn't do so well.
Yeah, they didn't have Tomo because he was the one, I suppose, would just be like one of your mates, really, would he? Tomo was.
He was good coach. He was great around the lads, really bubbly in training. If he got beat, he was lifting the lads up. That was his job around the group. And it being local, he was always about. And he was, he's the one that sorted windows out for Squires Gate at one point, and he's getting the showers fixed. And it's like, Tom, what are you doing? It's not your, it's not your job. But it's like, if I don't do it, then it doesn't get done. So as simple as that. And I'm calling in favors all over the place to get stuff fixed and stuff. And I think he was instrumental in, especially the in-between between him and the gaffer and the players. He was great as well with Tony Parks. I thought the two of them worked really well, because Tony was so dour and but just could kill you off in one sentence. Do you know what I mean? With something he said, but whereas Tommy was completely the opposite and upbeat and bubbly and just loved a bit of a giggle as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine it's exactly what he was like. And his wife had the laundrette as well. I think she used to do all the kits, I think, as well.
Probably.
Sure. She had the laundrette. Right, our next question is, Bellicon came in and he wanted the playoffs that season and Premiership in 5 years. What did the players think about those sort of plans at the time? Because as fans,
we thought.
we were like, not a chance. Is he having a laugh?
Yeah, I think some of these foreign owners, they get a little bit ahead of themselves and stuff. But there was a plan in place to progress and move forward, and a bit of investment in the team was enabled us to get out of the league. But then you've got to think about the Championship's a completely different kettle of fish. You know what I mean? With the amount of wages that are in that division and stuff, it just takes time to get your foothold in and get the players in for that level. But yeah, I remember we got promoted and we went to Latvia for the pre-season tour the year after, I think it was.
Yes, you did.
And we're in the pub after a game and he's got the flip chart out and he's in front of all the players are there. He's like, flip the flip chart over. Right, lads, promotion to the Premier League, like £1 million split between the players and all that. And all the fans are in the pub having a drink as well. Yeah. And we're looking and going, what's he doing here? What? Don't be telling the fans, and what are you doing in this, open forum or whatever. And we were thinking, I don't care what it is for promotion. What is it for staying in the league? Because that's our job, is to stay in the league, and not go down. But there was nothing for that. And we're just like, this was mental. It was crazy, what they were thinking that was possible with the group. Yeah. Obviously, it turned out he obviously knew something I didn't know, but it turned out all right for him. But at that point, we were just like, if we could stay in the league on the budget that we had, the players that we had, a couple of additions, then we'd have done great,
Yeah, I remember thinking exactly the same thing. I was thinking, I would have put money on us getting relegated at Christmas that year, and never mind going up. And then we ended up going up, and I still don't really understand how it happened. It was wonderful.
Just take it.
It was really quite amazing, and you'd have probably stayed around if you'd have known that was going to happen. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Let's not talk about our left, yeah.
Well,
we'll come on to that.
We are getting there. Right, New Year's Day. I don't know if you remember this.
It was our last ever match at Saltergate, that was actually. The weather was just absolutely horrific. I remember I had like a fluffy hood on, and I got fluff in my eyes, and my contact lenses I couldn't see, and I was drowning. And did you play in that match?
I can't remember that.
Keegan Parker didn't, did he? Because
right, okay.
He was ill. He was ill for that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, New Year's Day, ill. Yeah,
we didn't put that to him, but he said it was genuine.
He insisted he was advised not to travel.
Good
well,
one.
He said he did travel, didn't he? But he had to stay in the hotel.
Yeah.
Right. The next question was: we signed apparently 15 players in January, and did you feel then that something special was going to happen? Can you remember who came in out of those 15 players? Any sort of big names, Jane? No.
Well, we took Brandon, didn't we? We had Brandon come in that season that we ended up getting promoted. Chris Brandon came in when Forbesy was injured. Robbie Williams come in. And it was just, I think we just got on this crest of a wave around Christmas time, really.
Yeah.
And the belief was just huge in the group, and the gaffer had settled on pretty much his team that was doing all right. It's pretty much me and Keegan or me and Ben. We have to say though, Scott Vernon, the first 15 games of that season, he was the one that kept scoring. None of us lot. He was the one that kept us in games and stuff. He was playing brilliantly. But nobody remembers him in that season as still scoring like 12, 14 games. He was really on fire at the start of the season.
He was.
And then it just happened to sort of evolve. I think he got injured, and then it was me and Keegan or me and Ben. And we just went off on one, and, Reggie slotted in at right. Just things fell into place. Robbie Williams comes in, scores 7 from right back, left back or whatever. Ridiculous. That just doesn't happen. Wes Houlihan walks up on with his boots over his shoulder, and he's like the best player in the league by a country mile, ends up playing in the Premier League. That doesn't happen. They stick Reggie at right back, who's a 6'4" gangly nuisance, and he goes on to be like player of the year as well. Do you know what I mean? And just these things that just really random just slotted into place and went and fell perfectly that the team was class. And then you had the likes of David Fox, Keith Southern, who were just the engine room, Klaus, that just used to know that we found out quite earlier on about Christmas time that Wes was unbelievable. Simple as that. And if you could give him the ball, he would give you a minute's rest. He'd be able to keep it for you, and he'd create something out of nothing all the time. So the lads in midfield, they were like, right, to get him in the team, we're going to have to do half of his work for him. And so when he could end up on the right wing, he could end up in the 10 slot, he'd be past the strikers, he'd be all over the show. But if the ball went down where he wasn't, the rest of the team would just go shuffle over and do his work and cover him. Yeah. And they just knew their jobs then, that we'll do that because I know Wes will win us the game at some point. And that's how it sort of worked. And that was nothing really to do with the management of it or anything. It was just the players just worked it out because they were good pros.
I spoke to Reggie a while ago. I did one of these with him, and he said there was an incredible sort of friendship between you all as it grew, and he still keeps in touch with lots of the players. I don't know if you still do keep in touch with players from that team at that time. Do you remember that sort of close knit
100%
friendship?
Yeah, it was by far the best changing room I've been in, and I've been in a few. And I put it down to, because of the location of Blackpool, pretty much you have to move to go and play for them. And so all the players are in the same boat. Majority of the players are in the same boat. They're in a new county. We don't know anybody. We've all probably got young kids-ish and wives and stuff. And so you automatically just come together because that's your first port of call is the other players' wives, etc. A lot of players move to Preston, to St Anne's or Lytham or whatever that area. So that's a little core again. And so I just think that because of that, the players become tighter-knit and you get a more togetherness. But also, Grayson put together a group of lads that were top draw. The lads were sensational. Just the banter, nobody took it personally. If they did, they got booed down and were just suddenly put in their place. And we used to have the changing rooms at Squires, and people used to bring in pictures of cutouts of the paper of different bits and stick them above their place, just stupid things, because we kept taking the mick out of Evo because he was overweight. So anything big picture, or Coidy, any picture of somebody overweight would get stuck up on his thing. And it was just constant. And there was so you couldn't wait to get into training because somebody had got in early to stick it up, to stick something new up or whatever, or a headline from a newspaper. And it was dotted about, and they stayed there all year. And it was just a great way. And so you'd stay over, you'd have a coffee or tea after training. You wouldn't want to go home because you'd just have great crack and that. And then they got a dartboard up. And so that carried on. And so that's hence, I think, why we got promoted at the end of the day. We had some good players, but that team ethic and that togetherness, really got us over the line in a lot of games.
Oh, that's a lovely story.
Would you say that's one of the best? Well, yeah, I think you did. It's one of the best dressing rooms you've ever been in. Regardless of where you've been, probably, is it?
Yeah, by a mile. And not just the players that were playing as well. We had MJ, who didn't play that much that year, but he was at the heart of everything off the pitch, and he obviously wanted to play. He was desperate to play, but he still wanted the team to win and do well when he wasn't in the 16 or when he was on the bench. He tried his better, but he was one that really moved the team on. Because you can mope and sulk if you're not in the team, and you can really get other players down. You can take a little group with you, and now his manager's rubbish. I don't like him. He's not great at football, and all that, and it becomes sort of fractious. But everybody, whether you played or not, was completely focused on going in one direction, and again that helps massively.
Yeah, I suppose it sounds like something we're trying to build at the moment now with a good bunch of lads who, even if they're not playing, they're just being patient and waiting, biding the time to come in. And when they come in, there's no attitude in there now, which is
crucial.
And again, and you can see it in the results and where we are in the league.
But that takes time, you can't just get that overnight. It takes time to introduce discipline and rules and ethics and standards, and then people follow those. But as well, recruiting the right type of person is better than the right type of player, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and they got rid of quite a lot in the January as well, didn't they? Who obviously weren't fitting in at Blackpool, this season. There was that players shipped out, and we probably reckon that they were ones that weren't just towing the line or were, were maybe causing those problems behind the scenes. And we don't realise that as fans, as how it's got to be that way, hasn't it? Where even if you're not playing, you've got to be supporting the players, haven't you?
And sometimes
you're not getting.
Sometimes it's the best players as well that aren't towing the line, and they become the issue rather than it being the ones out the squad. They think they're better than they are. They think, and you have to deal with them as a manager. And right, well, you're doing all right for me, but I'd rather have somebody else that does empower the group rather than just is fractious. And every time you don't get your own way, you sulk and take 2 or 3 of the members of the group down with you with your moaning and that. I'd rather do without it. It's like you're a sapper, not an energizer, get out.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine. Right. Well, you will remember this one, definitely. It was your son's first birthday, and you scored a 15-yard rocket of a goal to beat Yeovil 1-0 away. Reggie then got himself sent off right after you scored. Do you remember that goal and that day, and how hard was it for you on that day when obviously it was your son's first birthday, you're missing all that as well? So
it was. I do remember it, and just things like that, they stick in your mind, and you try and get some sort of message to somehow through the media or whatever it is, when you're doing your press conferences, just to show that there is it, you're there on the back of your mind, if you like. I remember missing a wedding, a good friends of mine wedding, and I scored 2 at Forest for Cov, and in the aftermatch, I like to mention it because they're in the back of your mind. You want to be there, but obviously you've got a job to do. And that's part of it. That's football. You sacrifice some stuff. The rewards are obviously fantastic, if you do well. And so you have to just weigh those up. But stuff like that, it sticks in the back of your mind, and you just remember that, it's a nice little touch, isn't it? It's a little moment for him when he's now just turned 15 now, blimey. And so, that tells you how long ago it was.
Yeah, gosh, time goes on. It was mentioned in the article, obviously, in the Gazette. I reread it, and at that time they were starting to believe that there was a chance, with the way you were playing, and that, the fact that Sean Barker got sent off, and you held out for, I think he got sent off in the 58th minute, so you held out for half an hour, and it was quite a bit of pressure, and you could see probably then that was that feeling coming at that time. Do you think that you were banging
definitely
goals and they were flying in and?
Yeah, well, my confidence had started to go through the roof. Like I said, I scored when I come on as a sub. That gave me a huge boost. And then I scored in the game after when we won 3-1. And then it just started to just go and go. And me and Keegan got quite a good little relationship going, because as a striker, you have to adapt your game. Playing with Keegan is completely different to playing with Ben. You're feeding off Ben, you're playing a little bit more direct, and you're not feeding off scraps, but you're running in behind. You're trying to give him a bit of space when he drops in. Whereas Keegan, he just runs. He's quick and he's greedy and he just legs it. And you have to sort of change your way of playing. So I become the Ben Burgess in that relationship, and I start having to go for headers. I start having to drop a bit deeper, etc.
Yeah.
And I felt that time for me was some of the best football I'd played, because I was older, and hence Ben's telling old man and all that. And ribbing me constantly.
Was he really?
But I was able to sort of know that was my job, was to adapt to whoever I was playing with, and I'd rather it be me in the team than me going out of the team. So if I was the one that could adapt, then I played, and that suited me down to the ground.
Which one did you prefer to play with, Keegan Parker or Ben Burgess, or was it pretty much?
It's a good question. We had some good fun with Ben. Playing with Ben, it was entertaining to say the least. We used to really enjoy playing. We used to have a little bit of crack while we're on the pitch, because we got on so well off the pitch. We'd have a little giggle up if things were going all right, if you're winning and that. It was just a nice environment. Whereas Keegan was a little bit more selfish. He was a little bit more all Keegan Parker, and as long as he scored, he didn't really care what the result was, as long as he scored. Do you know what I mean? And that for me was fine, because if he scored, we more than likely won. And so you sort of just feed that sort of ego a little bit, and you can be the secondary one. It's not all about me. I don't care. He can have all the plaudits if he wants it, but I'm going to still do my job and play well. So they were different to play with, but I probably enjoyed playing with Ben more just because we got on better,
Yeah, you had more banter and stuff on the pitch.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I can't imagine. We wouldn't even know you're cracking jokes with each other on the pitch. That's just ace. God, brilliant. What are your best memories of the perfect 10? I mean, obviously, Blackpool fans, it's historic, for Blackpool, the perfect 10. We've never done it. You guys did it.
Yeah.
It was an incredible thing. Joe Hart came in, as you probably know, as as an emergency keeper, and we actually used 4 keepers that season. I was going to say we used Evans. We've got there Evans, Edge, Rahulka, and of course Joe Hart. And we got the perfect 10. So, can you remember that perfect 10? Did you kind of realise it as you were in it, or did it just suddenly think, "God, blimey"?
No, it sort of grows on you, because really it was the last 6 games of the season, wasn't it? And then obviously the 2 playoffs and the final. So 7, I suppose the last 7 games of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just sense that you start winning games, and you just think, because we were still chasing at that time and there was no real pressure on us. And so you've not lost anything if you don't go for it. It's not like you're at the top to lose it. We were chasing all the time, and there was an outside chance that we could get automatic, but we had a chance of playoffs, but they weren't cemented in there. And so we just started winning. And, you had the Tranmere game. Was it the Tranmere game when they had 2 men sent off and we were 2-2, we ended up scoring in the last minute to nick a win against 9 men, which was like an epic game. Like, how we didn't win it comfortably, I don't know, but they defended well, to be fair. But and then just games like that, and then when I said things just fell into place for Grayson as well. Getting Joe Hart in doesn't go against anything. Do you know what I mean? As a first choice keeper, who do you want to bring in? Well, I'll probably bring in England's number 1 for 10 years in the future, if that's all right by you. So it just fell, things like that fell. He was immense. He was brilliant in those few games. We played Cheltenham away. I can't remember if it was 1-0 or 2-1. And he was just ridiculous. And we ended up nicking it 1-0, 2-1. And we just then thought, hang on, we've got an half decent chance here. But the group were great, and the momentum was building, and then everybody, you could see that we had a chance. And then obviously getting into those playoffs, there's the Swansea game at the end of it that was all right, and then the playoffs, the 2 playoff games, and obviously getting it. I'd rather go up at Wembley, I think, than just do it automatically, even though you get a longer holiday. It's the better way to do it, if you like.
It's the glory way, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with that, but you don't, do you? You always say just one time. We just like to just be able to go up without all that stress.
No, I totally agree that it's the glory way to go up. And if it was guaranteed, I'd take it every time. But it's not guaranteed. And we've had the hurt of losing, and it's not. It's the worst. It really is. The whole summer is, which is what I'm kind of dreading now, because if we don't make it, it just really does kill your summer. It's hard to get over. Jane can kind of shake it off on the night and go and make some tea, but I fester all over the weekend, just on a normal game. So the season of it is just, I can't imagine it. Talking about Joe Hart, and yes, the Cheltenham game, I saw a video. I remember there was a video on YouTube, I can never find it, but it was from the little shed behind the goal with all the Blackpool fans in. It's filmed on a camera, and he pulls just so many wonder saves off. He dives to his left one time, he flicks it up, and he gets on the line, flicks it up, it hits the underside of the bar, and comes out. It was just, honestly, it was wild. But I have put on here, do you remember his debut game, which we were away at Huddersfield, and we won 2-0, but he made like 3 unbelievable saves on his debut. I'm sure you all thought at that time, good God, who is this kid? Because you wouldn't, you'd have never heard of Joe Hart. Nobody had heard of him at that time.
His dad was our goalkeeper coach, was he?
Yeah, that's right. He was around it. Yeah, but he come in, even in training, he hated being scored on, and he would try his utmost in training. He'd think this is a different standard here to your normal everyday keeper. Chubbs didn't like getting scored on, but this guy was a different level. And he like I say, he come straight into the team at Huddersfield. He just sat on the bus, and we were like, "Who are you?" Like, you know what I mean? One of those. And off he went. And we were like, hang on, we've got one here, I think. We're all right here. But I remember the Cheltenham game, their manager after the game, he went absolutely ballistic off the back of they shouldn't have had him. The keeper that you had in, because we had Edgy in for a couple of games, who was like 3rd choice, and he'd done okay, to be fair. But then I think he broke his finger or broke his wrist or something, and we needed a doctor's note, and they were saying it was dodgy doctor's note. You could get, to get Joe Hart in of that quality and all that. He was going absolutely mental, but we were like, don't care. It's done now. He can't change it. Do you know what I mean? And whether it's unfair or not, we'll take it all day long.
Yeah, unbelievable. I remember there was a shot. I always say there was a shot at the north stand. We were sat in the north stand behind, and it was so hard. And my dad just, similar to I do on the stream, he just went goal. Because it's coming in, and it just kind of went straight into his hands, and he just like stuck. It didn't just like it was coming like a rocket. He just went. Doof. He thought, wow, he didn't even like push it away or anything. He just stuck in his hands. He thought, but Dad said, bloody hell, this keeper's a bit good.
And it was that as well. It was with his feet as well. He was able to kick. That was just as goalkeepers were looking to play out a little bit more, and the older school keeper, they weren't as comfortable making those passes out to the centre halves and stuff. But he could go long, he could go short, he could just ping a pass all over the place. His technique was frightening with the ball at his feet as well. So you sort of knew he had half a chance of doing all right.
Yeah, you did. I mean, I always thought he would play for England, to be honest, after he played for us, because you just saw how good he was. And of course, he went on to great things. And I was always a bit disappointed he got dropped, really, because I still think he was one of the best keepers we have. I still think he's better than any.
It's a big confidence position, I suppose, isn't it? And if
massive.
people on your back, it must be so hard.
It was losing his place at City that kind of did him in, didn't it, really? And then he was never quite the same. He didn't get on with, did he? And it all went wrong, but he was a fantastic keeper. Right. Was the 6-3 away at Swansea one of the best games you've ever played in? Obviously, you scored 4, Keegan got 2, Trundle missed a penalty, which you'll have enjoyed, I would imagine. Being a friend of yours, I think you've told us before that you reminded him of it quite often. So what do you remember that game? Because it was just...
sensational.
It was mental. Mental. Well, it was the new stadium for starters, which was a brilliant stadium, do you know what I mean, to play in. They were still they needed to win to get into the playoffs. We needed to win to give us a chance of automatic. We could have nicked in over Bristol City, and so there's so much riding on it. And they went 1-0 up. They went. I think it was 1-1, then 2-1 to them, then missed penalty. We were behind, and they were doing all right. But then all of us, we just battered them. After 25 minutes, Keegan scores worldie, 2 worldies. Do you know what I mean? And I end up scoring 4, and it's like, well, how did that happen? Do you know what I mean? Where did that come from, sort of thing? And we still conceded 3. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like we were brilliant at the back or whatever. But we played some great football then, and the goals we scored that day were brilliant. Keegan's 2 goals for starters were just epic. Great. And the fan, I just remember the fans behind the goal. Because there was a bit of distance behind the goal to where the fans were. And I just remember celebrating in there after the game and stuff. It was just, and he took me off with 2 minutes to go. Really annoyed me. Won't talk about that. But I do. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember the goals. You see, the 4th goal of mine, the volley over the keeper from Joe Hart,
was a long ball up and just more hit it.
Well, that was over the top of Dennis Lawrence, who was one of my teammates at Wrexham, and he was 6'7", 6'8", and so to get it over him for starters was decent. And I just made the run. He saw it, and then if you've scored 3 already, I was just willing to have a bit of a go at it and see. And it either goes straight into our fans or it goes nestled in the net. And thank God it went over him and went in the net. I actually aimed for the other corner, but don't tell anyone. And it went in there, went in the near one. But I prefer my first goal, to be fair to that. The first goal of my 3, it was a little slide ball through from Klaus. Keeper's come out, and I've just lifted it over the keeper. That one I really enjoy that one rather than the volley. They're both all right, to be fair.
What do you feel? I can't imagine what it feels like, to score 4 goals in such an important. I mean, it was such an important game as well. It was a massive, massive game. You come on and you get 4 goals as a striker. You must have. I don't even know how you come down from that the next day.
I didn't.
What did you do? You don't.
Yeah, I'm still living off it now. It was just. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's somewhere in the house, in the loft, I think it is. But yeah, we were trying so hard to win the game. We knew we had to win the game to give ourselves a chance. And after we went 1-0 down, we were still in it. I nicked a goal. We went 1-1, so 2-1 down, missed penalty. You think, it might be our day still. Then Keegan, it's a decent one. Then Robbie Williams, it's a shot, gets deflected, it's the bar, and I end up just heading the thing into an empty net, which is quite nice. And then you think, oh yeah, I've got a chance of a hat-trick now. And I knew that I was going to get chances because the way we were playing, we're always going to create chances. And again, another one just fell for me from my left foot. And, it just happened to be in the middle of the goal and where you love it, 5 yards out or whatever, and you hit it and in you go. And then obviously the fourth one's just one of those. The sun shines on every dog one day, and it was my time that time. It was my time. And it ends up in the back of the net. But and I think that point we sort of said, right, here we go. We've got a right chance of getting, one. We might have even got up straight away, but even if we were in the playoffs, nobody's gonna beat us if we play like that.
Yeah, it was a weird day as a fan, that Swansea day, because we were used to going to the Vetch, and it was really intimidating place. And to go into this beautiful stadium that was just it was just incredible, wasn't it? And then coming out, and we're like, oh God, they needed to win that one. We've just battered them. We were thinking we were going to get battered on the way back to the train station, and because we had to walk past all these pubs, and there were all these Swansea fans outside the pubs, and they come out and they were giving us a round of applause as we were walking back to the station. I'm like, God, you were amazing today. Do you play like that every week? They were like, yeah. it was Swansea. I'm like, no, this isn't real. It was just so surreal. But it was a very, very special day.
Yeah, it was. Go on.
I just remember as well, Lee Trundle missed a penalty in the 2010. It was the other promotion that Lee Trundle must have done it again, because it was down to Swansea and us for that one, wasn't it? And that's when he. That's
right. But I went in and seen him after the game. He was obviously gutted, and all the players for them were gutted because they'd obviously just missed out on whatever. And so really high and low for me, because I had two good friends, Dennis Lawrence and stuff. There's a couple of lads I played with in their team, and so you want to be ecstatic and buzzing for doing what we've done, but also there's a part of you that's like gutted for me mates, but that's football. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's you can't have any sort of favourites with give people favours. You've got to look after yourself, haven't you? It's a one-time
right.
So we get Oldham in the playoff semis. Can you remember? I mean, as Blackpool fans, we remember it, but what do you remember of those two games? And how do you prepare for it? And did you sleep and all? Just tell us how it is as a football player, really, in that sort of really precious situation, and just how well you played.
Well, we were obviously really looking forward to it. Do you know what I mean? The team's pretty much set. The team's playing well as well with 7 on the spin. So we think we've got a right chance, but Oldham we've done all right against them in the season, but they've got some decent players. Richie Wellens was around it then, I think he was, and obviously had a bit to prove with Blackpool, etc. And I just remember going to Oldham and we won 2-1, and I just thought we had missed a trick. We had so many chances in that game. Keegan had 4 or 5 sort of half one-on-ones, and he's in, and we just missed so many chances. And I'm thinking, no, we'll be all right, because the way we're playing, we'll be fine. And Reggie scored, didn't he, from the corner?
Yeah,
I blocked the keeper. And then I remember as well, I did a little reverse pass for Wes for his goal, where he's ran over it and it's gone round the keeper. He's gone round the keeper with it.
Yeah, the 2 players slide.
They've gone somersaulting all over the place. Yeah, that sticks in your mind. He's not even touched the ball, and he's just the old shimmy, dropped the shoulder, and they have gone bosh, and he's ended up nearly landing on his feet again, hasn't he? He's gone that high. But and what a goal that was! It was just simply brilliant. And and then we gave we gave a penalty away, didn't we? For them. And I just thought, we'll be all right. We'll be fine because of the way we're playing. We're 2-1 up away from home, so we're going at home. We'll be okay. And then the night before we played on was it Saturday morning? I think it was a home game. And on Friday night, Forest were playing Yeovil, and Forest were obviously 2-0 up and cruising from the first leg and stuff. And Yeovil just absolutely got into them and absolutely annihilated them with energy and all over the pitch. And they ended up winning 5-2, going through, Forest didn't know what hit them. And Forest were expected to go through and everything. And that's when no sleep. no sleep because we've missed our opportunity. Do you know what I mean? Because of the amount of chances we had, we could have been 6, 7 out of the way. And that can happen if you don't take your chances. And so no sleep, worry. And then the next day, you still, we'll be all right. We'll be all right, because of the way we're playing. And it turned out that way. Keith scored a great strike from outside the box, which makes it a little bit easier.
Strike, which come from nowhere.
Keeper should have saved it, really. Looking back, he's got a good hand on it. He's got to keep that out. But there was about 3 or 4 disallowed offside goals in that game. I think there was, watching the highlights back. And then, running through the game, it was, I managed to score in front of all the fans down that end, little pass from, and I just remember the keeper. The keeper was sub. I think he came on in the first game. I think, or he was the reserve keeper anyway. And I just remember when Keegan was going through on those 1-on-1s, he's going down dead early. Like whenever you're a chance 1-on-1 or whatever, he goes down at your feet really early. So I thought if I do get a chance, I'm going to just lift it because he'll go down. He's gone down early all the time. And hence ball comes through from Wes. It's bob on the money, and I'm 1-on-1. I'm thinking, right, just got to get this up. And it just sits up lovely for me. And I'm able just to nick underneath it and get it over him and into the net, and a little high five for the steward behind the goal as I run off.
I can see it going in like it was yesterday. I was with my dad, bless him, and we were just right behind, and it was, oh God, the noise. I don't know what it was like for you as fans, but we were so loud that day. It was absolutely deafening. It was actually hurting my ears in the North Stand. It was really, really where your ears were buzzing. It was so loud. So I don't know how.
Well, I think the fans sensed it as well. The way that we were playing, there was a real opportunity, and that goal sort of just gave us that cushion between, because obviously Keegan scored that brilliant little bender into the top corner when he should have crossed it really, but he into the top corner to make it done and dusted. But the noise levels from there, and all the players, come on, let's get on this because we're pretty much there now. And the other thing I remember from that game is that after the game, we watched Yeovil the night before, and they were dancing and celebrating, players tops off in front of their fans, giving it all the big and everything. They'd beaten Forest and they were getting to Wembley and all that. And we just celebrated, walked off. We weren't done. Do you know what I mean? We went in the changing room. Job's not done yet. And I just remember how clinical. We obviously celebrated in front of our fans because we were our last home game of the season, and we went round and it was brilliant. The noise was sensational. The fans were absolutely brilliant. But I just remember going in the changing rooms and it just sort of stopped. It was like, no, we've got a final to play in a week. Yeah, and I felt that was the difference there. Yeovil's final was Forest. And our final was Yeovil, if that makes sense. And
totally agree.
Why we played so well and pretty much destroyed them. Yeah.
So the next thing is Yeovil at Wembley in the final. Just tell us, is that? Well, it's not your only trip to Wembley. I know that because you went back with Wrexham as well later on, didn't you? I think. But was that your first Wembley final?
Yeah, and it was back at the new Wembley as well, wasn't it? It was only like the third game in. Yeah. So we travelled down and went to watch the League Two final the day before. We had about 55 minutes of that before, just to go and have a bit of a get and understand what it's all about, which was great. That really helped set us down a little bit. Training sessions were bob on, just very simple. And I remember just in training, there was a ball. We'd gone into a huddle and we were breaking just to go and do some set pieces or whatever. And there was a ball on the edge of the box, and I have just whipped it, and it's gone straight in the top corner. No keepers or anything. And like all the players were just looking at me, and I never shoot from outside the box to start with. Never mind it, one in the top corner from there, just messing about. I'm normally chasing it behind the goal. And all the lads just went, "What? Save! Don't do that! Save them!" Like you'll be one of those. And so it was one of those. So we and the day was just bob on. The preparations was proper. The lads were really relaxed because of like I said, the way that we were playing. And then we had some good news as well. There, 2 players that ended up going to Forest. One of them was out injured, and the other one was playing injured. And that was a big hit for them. I felt that they weren't going to be as strong as they were and it turned out to be. But we were on the gas right from the moment, and I think they had one real chance, about 10 minutes to go, headed it down over the bar.
They did.
But apart from that, we dominated the ball, dominated the play, and we probably should have won by more in the end.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually. As a player, I think it's probably every player's dream to play in a final. At Wembley, and did it live up to your sort of expectations of that? Was it how you expected it to be, or better, or?
Yeah, no, absolutely, because you win. Simple as that. You know what I mean? If you lose, you don't want to go back. It's the worst feeling ever. So when you win, everything was obviously done properly. When you lose, we could have done that better, or could have done that better. It's not the way. If you go to Wembley, you've got to win. Simple as that to make it a great day. And we were so good. The lads, we had experience in the team, we had pace in the team, we had guile, we could score we had 4 players that year hit over 10 goals, which is unheard of. We had goals from all over the place. And so we knew that, if somebody wasn't firing, somebody else would come on and do it for us. And it turned out Keegan scored a great goal. I'm not sure that it's that great. I think the keeper's not great in it, but I won't tell him that. But and Robbie Williams scores just before half time, which I think killed them and gave us the massive pick me up we needed to go on and win the game.
He did claim the assist for that as well on the video we did with him last week. He said he was responsible because he went down a bit easy and it wasn't
even a free kick, was it? No, it wasn't a free kick. I had two chances in the game as well, and one went over my head by that much across from Keegan. I just couldn't get me a net going and couldn't get it. And then I had another one on my left foot and keeper saved it. But I'd love to have scored at Wembley, but take the 2-0 and the celebrations were pretty much 3 days long.
Feeling like, we've all watched it. We've all watched it on TV. You go up to get the trophy and everything. What is that moment like, Andy? When you go up and climb the stairs and you're all on that top balcony and you're going mental with the trophy. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine what it's like.
Well, I like to be humble with it a little bit, and there's always a loser on the other and so I just think the right thing to do, the respectful thing to do, is to go and see them first and say well done and chin up and it would be a right sort of thing, because it's horrible and I'd want somebody else to do the same to me if I was on the other end of it. So I sort of just went over. I had a mate as well that I'd played with who was on the Oval team, and I went over and just you just do the right thing for me first, and then off you go and you can join in the celebrations with the lads. But I straight up the stairs, and that lifting that trophy, it's stuff that you dream of when you're a kid. Me being late into the game and all that, I thought that it was never going to happen. It just wasn't a possibility. I wasn't in an academy or anything like that. So that just wasn't happening. And when it does actually happen, it's something, and have your family and kids there to see it. It's definitely a special moment and one that sticks in your mind forever and ever.
Sure. So you couldn't celebrate quite so good there, I suppose, in that respect, but victory parade, come back, you can go mental, I suppose, on this one. Can you remember there's like 20,000 fans on the promenade?
I do,
Tram
took us in. Well, we get on the tram, we're still a little bit drunk from the previous 2 days pretty much and stuff, and we're on the tram and there's nobody here, lads. There's nobody here because you start so far away. It's like, lads, this is going to be embarrassing. Because we're just going to end up on top of this thing, and we're going to. But then you start to see, we're getting near the tower, and there's a few people about, and oh my God, wow! And they've come out in force, and it was, just again, they just stick with your little story. Larry lifting the trophy up on top and nearly electrocuting himself on the blooming the ribbons in the things, and he just thinks that's like that stick in your mind when you're going through it and that. But the crowds just make the day. You know what I mean? And again, it ended up being a brilliant evening and night. And a couple of days after, I think we were still celebrating, because you've got to enjoy the highs because the lows are soon around the corner.
I know there's actually one thing I meant to mention, because before the playoff semi-final at home against Oldham, you were interviewed by Sky on the seafront. I remember there was a big interview with you. I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember being interviewed by them on the front? And
I do, yeah.
I wish I could find it because it was brilliant.
Well, I think it might even be with Bryn Law, he first sponsored my kit when I first went into Wrexham because he's a massive Wrexham fan. And he'd just followed my progress through and was still working for Sky Sports. So they put the two together, and hence me getting into the playoff final. It was like, we'll put the two together and talk stories because he followed my journey right the way through. But I do remember it, and I was probably just saying all the cliches that you could say, about, we want to get promotion. You can't read into it and all that malarkey that you have to say because you can't say other stuff because you get into trouble.
But I remember my dad loved that. My dad, I can remember him. I think we watched it a million times over because of back in those days, you didn't get much coverage on Blackpool. You know what I mean? So any sort of thing that was on TV, my dad used to record it. Any Granada reports. 30 seconds. We watched it like for 5 hours to make a 30-second thing last all weekend. And, I can remember he absolutely loved that.
That's my goals reel is the same thing for my dad. My dad used to record it off Sky, pause it, Sky Sports, get the goal, and then next week it'd be, there's another one. We'll just piece it together. That's just what it was,
I can only thank you enough for the memories that you gave me, and the chance, I did all that with my dad, and it's just fantastic because, I went with my dad for years, and, we were just down, we couldn't get out of those bottom two divisions for years. So you finally did it. It was like 30 years we've been down there, trying to get up, and it was incredible.
I need to get a special guest for our next question.
Oh dear. Okay. Right, okay.
Aye.
Guest is good. Oh, right. Okay. Here we go.
Oh, blimey.
All right. Here's the question that's coming up. So there you go.
Do you remember him from Latvia?
Oh, blimey. I don't know what you're going to say. Can we have to turn it off now, do we?
No.
No, my friends and I travelled to Latvia we're on 2007 now, so that would be the second year, wasn't it? No, I think he was here, he was there the third year with us. But what memories do you have of the? I mean, we as fans absolutely love those trips to Latvia, and I remember being in that the downstairs in that bar. I think it was Belicon's brother's sports bar, wasn't
That's
it?
Right. Yeah.
So, what stories do you have from those trips to Latvia? Because I think you went twice, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, I went the year after when I was out of contract and never kicked a ball. I trained, but that's another story. But that tour was great because we were still on a high from 10 in a row. I think we got beat in the game that we played. But I think I might have even been injured as well. But just that type of tour, it really cements those friendships that we'd made the year before. And obviously you get tighter as a group off the back of winning something. But he'd added a couple of players to that group with GTF coming in, that type of player coming in. And it's just the chance to get to know them really and infiltrate them into your group. But we had a couple of beers, I think, every now and again on those tours, and what goes on tour stays on tour, unfortunately.
There we go. So anyway, that was there's nothing.
No, there wasn't.
I don't remember the Teddy. No,
Danny was there. He did have his face. There's probably a photo of you with him somewhere.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, he has had many photographs with players, so I suppose that was all it was ever going to be.
Okay, good.
Not in a hotel room anyway.
Compromising position with a teddy bear.
Right, we got a couple of questions from us, and then we got some fan questions for you. We signed Craney, Gary Taylor Fletcher, Flynn, Hills, and Wes Permanenton. Can you tell us about any of those players? Were they great additions to the team? I mean, we obviously like Craney and Gary Taylor Fletcher.
They did really well. For Blackpool. Yeah, GTF was creative, really happy feet. Craney was a different level. For me, he'd been bombed out by Leeds. He was really struggling, I think, with that type of self-belief, really, again. And he comes and has somebody put his arm around him and he just flourished, didn't he? And he was a brilliant signing for Blackpool. Hillsey and Flinney in the changing rooms, they didn't have a amazing second. Hillsy, obviously, second time round. Wasn't amazing the time that they had, but they still fitted that mold of met the group and was important in the group. Flinney was noisy constantly. Oh, he would do your head in with his just talk all the time. But I still speak to Flinney. He's done really well with Newport, etc. In the leagues and management. I still speak to Flinney quite often. And then Wes was literally, didn't he? He signed. There was a massive hoo-ha right the way through the pre-season, and then literally an hour before we were meant to play Leicester in the first game, he signed, and it's been ding, the lift opened, and he was like, "I can play," at the hotel, and I think that just really lifted everybody, and we managed to nick a win as well there, didn't we?
Yeah, well, that was our next question, so we kind of led into that, which obviously the first game away was at Leicester in the Championship. And
I remember hearing the news that Wes was playing as I was walking to the ground from the pub, and I was just like skipping into the goal. I couldn't believe it. Yes, Wes is playing. It gave us a massive boost as well. But
we'd done all the preparation, obviously without him, because his thing wasn't going to come through, but he was always around it. And like I say, just to get him in the team was great, and we rode our luck in that game. The Leicester were awesome. They had some real top quality, and they were in a different stratosphere to us, really. But our momentum, our team spirit, our ethic just somehow got us through that day, and we ended up nicking a little 1-0, I think, away, and
1-0,
take it all day long in the first game back in the Championship, and just kick-started us to being safe, really.
There's a couple of good games in that season. Jane picked up on the Derby and the Carling Cup with Casper's Gorks, and we won 7-6 on penalties. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah, I took a pen. Yeah, in that, and it was against a lad that we'd had at Cov as well. So I knew him, and so we were okay. So I had to stick it down and stick it past him. But I remember that. It was good because again, you just want to pick your wits against top level teams, and we were doing all right, and so we thought we had a chance of beating them, and hence you go and stick one over on them over in a penalty shootout. Do you know what I mean? So those games are the ones that you want to really play in and go and do your best and prove that we are a half decent team.
Yeah. Do you actually enjoy penalty shootouts as a player, or do you actually dread them? Is it like because obviously if you miss, there's so much pressure, isn't there?
Yeah. You have to find a way to finish the game, I suppose, in these knockout tournaments. So I think there's no better way. I don't mind them. I took penalties in my career through. So I used to just stick to my routine, and I used to practice 5 every Friday before before I played on a Saturday. I didn't even take them at Blackpool. I wasn't allowed. Do you know what I mean? But I'd still take them anyway, just in case. I would have scored loads more had I taken penalties, I think, because Wes used to get them all the time, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
I don't mind them. I think you just got to get on with it, and it's just pot luck as well. It's if you get knocked out, it's just meant to be. You just can't be too fussed about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't dwindle on it. It's gone,
No.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You also played with Paul Dickoff. What was he like? Because he was an amazing player, wasn't he? Was he?
Yeah. Well, this second season wasn't my greatest. I was in and around it. I was in the team. I was out the team. I probably played the first part, but didn't play the second part when Dickie come in and stuff. And he was great. Really random. You remember him from how hard he worked, and I remember sort of modelling the way I played a little bit on running about and intensity off the back of him and Dean Saunders, those types of players. And then he comes in and he's straight on the fags on the away game, gets off the bus, straight on the fags, he's smoking and all that. And you're like, he's top draw striker. And he's like, I need a fag, do you know what I mean? But he just fitted that mould of the lads and come straight into the team, and he started scoring goals, didn't he? I think we went away. I remember we went away to Ipswich, I think, and he scored late on, but he was ruled offside. The linesman gave him offside, but he carried on, went round the keeper and put it in, and the ref gave it because it come off a different player, and so I just that he got that experience to just carry on and put it in the net regardless. And that's what I remember about Dickie, like, because he just had that experience, that aura about him.
Yeah, he was a great player, wasn't he? Even before he came to Black, in fact, it was an amazing signing. I couldn't believe
We
it.
know we couldn't believe it, got it.
No, I
Yeah.
couldn't. I think
Yeah,
anybody could. I mean, people were getting on the back of the shirts and everything because it was like so rare.
yeah.
We actually finished 19th. Was it a tougher season than you expected? As tough as you expected? Did you kind of, was there a major celebration for staying up? As it was, quite an achievement in, the first season to stay up in the Championship.
No, tough as expected. With the teams that you're going up against, the Leicesters of this world, it's a completely different ball game. And so to stay in the league was a massive achievement. Was there a celebration? I wouldn't say. It's more a relief that all your hard work hadn't gone to waste, that the whole group had tried everything to stay in the league, and we'd managed to achieve it with a small budget and not as much money as other clubs, and going up against those big teams, we'd held our own in the majority of stuff and given it a go.
Great.
So going back to Latvia, the following pre-season, did you already know you were leaving the club at that point?
No. So I had my option that was going to be taken up, but Oyston didn't want to take it up. And so it was just sort of a negotiation, really. So I went in pre-season and I was fit, I was flying, and I thought, right, I've got every chance. I'll just sign it and we'll be fine. We'll just sort it out and get it done. And then one week led to another week, and then I was like, I need to make some sort of a stand, because what they were offering me was a 25% reduction on my basic wage for staying in the Championship, and I just thought that was a bit out of order.
Yeah.
But and that was it. And I had an appearance money on top. And I just thought, that's a bit out of order, really. But anyway, we'll negotiate anyway. So I ended up and I thought, right, well, I'm not going to play in the games. I'm going to be fit. I'm going to go training and all that, because I need to be fit and ready. But if I don't play in the games, it will make him realise that it's got to be sorted out, because I didn't want to get injured and then I was done. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't, he wouldn't sign me and I wouldn't be able to sign anywhere else. So I just thought, I'll make a stand. And anyway, game after game went by and we didn't get it sorted out. So I ended up going in and saying, right, I'll take the 25% pay cut, but put that money on top of my appearance money. So if I play, I get paid the same. If I don't, but you're saying I'm not, your quid's in. Do you know what I mean? So we're on the same sort of deal. So I'll back myself to play. So just put them same money. So I'm on the same money if I'm playing, but if I'm not playing, then I'm on less. And that I'm happy with that. I'll take that. And it went on a week or two like that. And then literally just before the season, the week before the season starts, I think, or just before he goes, I couldn't get him. I couldn't get the manager. I couldn't get the chairman. And he just went, no, he's not doing it. And I just thought that was a fair compromise for him. And so it was a bit stupid, really, because it was pride more than anything that I just went, I can't sign that now, because it just looked like I'm. Yeah. And so I end up leaving off the back of it. And I didn't really want to. In hindsight, I probably should have stayed, because looking at who Blackpool brought in and the injuries that they had, I probably would have played. Do you know what I mean? In that league, I end up going down to Bury and taking an even bigger hit on the money I was offered at Blackpool, just because of pride, and I just wanted to play. Do you know what I mean? But that's football.
It's 25%, so a big chunk, isn't it? And they are right. You got them there, didn't you? I don't know. I would have been the same as you. I would have been happy with the 25%.
In hindsight, I should have signed, and then if I wasn't playing, gone on loan. That's probably in hindsight what I should have done. But I went and I got sold to Bury. I went to Bury, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Bury. But that's maybe the one regret a little bit, that I did just jump and get out. But because of what happened as well, I wish I was around it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, they could have stayed.
Yeah.
Right, we've got some questions from fans, so I'm just going to read this out. Mark Porter says, do you remember scoring a last gasp equaliser for Poole in the Lancashire derby with Burnley in a 2-2 draw at Turf Moor in September 2007? So it's very specific. I was in the away end, right behind the goal that day. I'll never forget the reaction from the fans when you scooped it in with your left foot. I think you were half lying on the ground at the time after scrambling the 6-yard box. The stand went crazy. I'll never forget that moment. One of his greatest memories. Do you remember that? Just say you do.
Yeah, put him right. Yeah, no, I do actually, because I remember the ball dropping. It was late on, and Evo was up front, and he'd come up front, and he swiveled round to volley it in and completely missed it, and ended up sort of spinning round, and then he's towed it to me, and I'm free, and I've just ended up just back in and putting it in the bottom corner. So I certainly remember it just more for Evo's miss than I do for me scoring.
Oh, wow. So there you are. He remembers it. Brian Thompson says, I remember you watching a game of cricket I was playing in over at Goosenar in 2010. We had a brief chat. Brief as wickets were falling at an alarming rate, and I had to get my pads on sooner than I thought. I later interestingly said you played cricket for Leicestershire at county standard up to under 19 level. Was it ever a serious choice between the two sports, and did you play with or against any cricketers who went on to make a name in the game of cricket? So you're obviously a good cricketer as well as a footballer.
Yeah, well, I played county cricket and up to the Colts, which is sort of probably the under 19s in the football equivalent, if you like. And I was all right. I was just never properly dedicated to cricket. It was more just I enjoyed it. I was quite good. Football was always the one. So having a decision to make, it never really happened for both. It was just I got that door open opportunity for football than it did for cricket. Really, cricket just takes too long for me. It's like an all day thing rather than an in and out like the football. But yeah, I played with Darren Maddy, used to play for Leicestershire. There's a guy called Darren Stevens who's at Kent. He's doing really well. He was around the England squads at times. So there's a couple of players of my day that have gone on and done relatively well, and probably played against a few as well, but I won't remember them.
David Scholes asks, as a striker, you came up against some intimidating centre-backs. Who was the scariest, and did you give as good as you got?
Yeah, Danny Shitter was quite scary at Watford when he was snorting at you when he's running behind you and you could hear him coming, and it was like, oh my good grief, here we go. I'm gonna end up in row G or whatever. That wasn't fantastic, but yeah, the different defenders are different. Some are really good because they're quick and they read the game really well. Others are more physical or nipping you and standing on your toes and all the old school stuff that the defenders do. Really, just I always thought that I'd score. I just had a thing that I'll get a chance at some point in the game. I'll get a chance, and I'll hope to take it, because I think you have to have that mentality as a striker to believe that at some point, even if you're not playing great, at some point the ball will fall to you within the box, and you've got to just take that one chance because that's what you're in the team to do.
Thank you very much. Right, so there you go. What Mark does, and he's a Wrexham vlogger, I think what Mark does, he said, how hard was the loss 8 years ago yesterday against Newport at Wembley, both as a player and a manager? So that's from a Wrexham fan. Yeah,
it makes me feel sick every time I think about it, because we worked so hard. We had a couple of years at it, and we're so close, and we went to Wembley and won the trophy. Which was a brilliant day and a fantastically, really proud moment for me to lead out and play. And obviously I was first on the team sheet because I was player manager, so you pick yourself, don't you? Then I'd have rather swapped them. I'd have rather lost the trophy and got promoted into the league, just because Wrexham is such a massive club. It needs to get back out of that league. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. The game plan was okay. We missed a couple of chances, and right late on, they hit a sucker punch in that, and there's not a day that I just wish that it'd been different.
The other way around.
Yeah, but that's sport, that's football. You have to take the highs with the lows, unfortunately.
Bradley Jones asks, what was your time like at Bury? So he is a Bury fan. So there we are, Mark, for Bradley Jones.
Right, yeah. I enjoyed it. I wasn't particularly great. I didn't feel when I was at Bury. I didn't really play to my full potential, but I really enjoyed it. I got on really well with the manager there, who was Alan Nill, who was Chris Wilder's assistant at Sheffield United, just recently left Sheffield United. But at Bury, when I went, Chris Wilder was Alan Nill's assistant. So they were the other way around at Bury. Yeah, it's a random one, isn't it?
Yes.
But no, I did enjoyed it. They tried to move the club forward as best they could. We were close. We missed out in the playoffs first year, and then just missed out in the playoffs the second year. So we were relatively successful. We won a lot of games. Great fans, and it's such a sad thing that's happened to that football club. It just should never happen. And I think a few clubs have been close to it, haven't they? Including Blackpool with yourselves and that. And it's not nice, and it should never happen. And these people need a good looking at and sorting out, because it's people's lives and livelihoods, and it's what gets them through a week. Sometimes that they've taken away.
Yeah, it's very sad. So thank you for that. Just a couple of questions from Blackpool supporters in London, actually. One is Caroline, how do we say that? Van Heck. She says, please convey my fondest memories of meeting Andy and the rest of the squad in Riga. Hope you enjoyed the tour as much as we, the fans, did. And that's Belgian Caroline from Kent. I don't know if you remember her, but anyway, she just wanted to convey that to you.
Thank you.
Mark Hempelman says, just how good was that 2017? And should Keegan have crossed it?
There you go. Well, there was definitely times he should have passed it. I know that, but I think the team was it, and it just shows you where some of the players ended up from that team to tell you how good it was. Wes ended up in the Prem, Foxy ended up in the Prem, Keith Southern played in the Prem. Reggie played at Derby. Do you know what I mean? These players gone on and done sensational things in the game, and it just proves that however good Blackpool were at that time, it pretty much was a springboard for these lads to go and really showcase what they were all about. And you don't move to the Premier League if you're not half decent. And we had a squad full of them at that time.
Yeah. Absolutely, we did. Paul Upton, I think this is our final question for you. How good / difficult was it to play alongside Keegan Parker? And he's also asking what triggered you move to Blackpool, but because you fitted like a glove into the side. But I think we've kind of covered that. But how difficult was Keegan Parker?
He was fine. He was fine. He didn't work hard, but I did. And so that's how we complemented each other. He would be all about goals and scoring and stuff. And that's fine. He had that really one focused mind, was that I'm going to score. And he was the chirpy one out of us two. He'd get in the defenders' ears. He'd get kicked all over the place because he was chirpy. Teams and hated him because he just riled them non-stop and that. And I just went about my business and let him get booted all over.
Well, there's one where the keeper had his hands around him, wasn't it?
Against Walsall,
That's right.
Keeper got sent off. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember Gregan at Oldham, he chased him around the pitch in, I think it was the semi-final, because he was annoying him that much. So he was just that type of player. It was great to have on your team, but when you played against him, he was a bit of an idiot. But no, I really liked him because of the relationship we had, and I was able, like I said, to adapt my game to play with him. And, he scored 16 and I ended up scoring 20 in that season. So it shows what sort of relationship we had when we played together.
So just moving on to your career in management, obviously you went on to manage. How have you found that, and how's that been for you, and what have you learned, and how is it different from being a player?
It's a nightmare. That's what I've learned. It's difficult. It's constantly on your mind. As a player, you turn up, you do your thing in training, you go home, you probably review your session, or you review what you can do and how you do it better. It's all about you. Whereas as a manager, it's all about the group and how you get the best out of the group, and it's a completely different dynamic. And I was player manager at the time, so I was doing a little bit of both. But looking back, I think it helped me, because I would go and train. I'd leave it to my assistant. We'd work out what we're going to do in training, and I'd go and train with the players. And that was my sort of release for the day, of just forgetting about it and just going and training. And the assistant took it. And then afterwards, I'd have all the grief come back. But that was my 2 hours of my time to just go and enjoy training and playing. Very difficult. I found recruitment really difficult, bringing good players in. When you've not got a lot of money, it's difficult to bring in the types of players that you want to make the team better. But I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't change it for the world. I've had some really brilliant, proud moments managing at Wrexham and And at Tamworth, I think at Tamworth we won 12 straight games at one point. We just went on one of those runs like we had at Blackpool, and we were the best team in the world at that point with the results that we had. I think Juventus were behind me. It was ridiculous, but you put that together, and that's partly the reason what your job is, and that you've done it. Do you know what I mean? And
incredible.
That can't be taken away from you. And I really enjoy group dynamics and leading a group and trying to get them to do what you want to do. And I like that, but the stress that comes with it, and it's constantly on your mind, and there's no ever downtime. Family life suffers. These lads that have done it for years and years, I take my hat off to them, because it is relentless.
I can imagine it is. It's a lot of pressure in it. Like you say, on your mind, isn't it? You're probably thinking to the next game, how are you going to set it up? You've got players you want to play. You can't play them all, and
that's right.
Set people, and I can imagine it is really difficult.
But when you're at home, you're in the room, but you're not in the room. You're thinking about who's going to play right back, and your kids are asking you questions, and you're not really in the room at the same time because your mind's just on different things. It's really hard for family and stuff, but. No, I come through that. I had a little chance at Hensford and it didn't work out. Whether I'll go back into it or not, I'm not too sure. I don't know if I fancy that anymore with the coaching that I'm doing. I'm really enjoying doing the coaching and the developing of young pros, if I can, go that way. And especially strikers, I really want to go and maybe niche in striker coaching and just really focus on a striker and their movement and stuff like that. And that'd be really cool eventually if we can work towards that.
Yeah, that's amazing that you're passing on that knowledge, because obviously you were such an amazing striker. So that's wonderful that you're doing that and you're passing that on and you have that as a legacy. That's really lovely.
Yeah, I just wish I'd had it when I was playing. We'd do a bit of shooting afterwards and that was it, and that's great. But really, the detail of what goes into strikers' movement and when and the triggers and how and your movement in the box and stuff like that, it's something you pick up, and I think you can teach and help to these young strikers, or even any striker. Even if you've scored 30, you can still learn more. And if you can pass that on, then hopefully these players will learn and take that with them. And I really like that process.
Is this your own private coaching, Andy?
I've set it up myself. I do holiday sessions for really young kids and then on an evening I'm out 4 hours a night with either little group sessions or one-to-ones, 2-to-1s, right from 7-8-year-olds up to like 18, 19 and pros. I've done a few pros in the summer when they're looking to get fit and going back into training. So I love it. I really enjoy it. I like that, like I said, that progression of seeing them. And even, even an 8-year-old kid that I've had for 4 or 5 weeks, you can see the development in them and how their weaker foot or their development foot, because you're not allowed to say weaker anymore because there's whatever. But, you can see it coming on and you can see them progressing, and then they come back and say, oh, that drill you showed me, I scored on the weekend from doing that. And just that type of thing, that really goes well with me, and I'm passionate about that. And hopefully it will just grow, and I can grow this business around where I am and so help somebody get there.
If people are watching this and they want to get in touch with you, they've got a young kid or, teenage son or something who they want coaching, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm in the Midlands. At the minute, I'm not far from Tamworth, and it's iamfootballuk.co.uk is my website. And you can just go on and you can message me through that, or I'm on Facebook and all those at iamfootballuk. So feel free to get in touch with anything. If any queries, if anybody wants some advice or whatever, I'm happy to give it. If I can help one person, then I'd love to. We
will put links in the below then, for people to contact you and everything. That sounds absolutely fantastic. And if you have got a young boy who's want to be a striker, I don't think you could have any better advice than Andy Morrell, to be honest.
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you very much.
But, have you got anything else you want to ask him?
No, just to say thank you for your time, Andy. It's been wonderful to have you here, and it's just some lovely little stories there, and it's been lovely to see you. So thank you very much for your time.
No, thanks for having me. That sun's coming in, isn't it, around here? You can see it catching up with me there. So good timing, but really appreciate having me, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been a real pleasure, and I hope everybody's watching this. If you're watching it tonight or you're watching it on the rerun, I hope you really enjoy it. Give the video a like and put your comments in below, and subscribe to our channel as well. If you
Too right.
We like doing all this sort of stuff. Thank you very much, Andy.